Have you ever wondered where Cain found his wife? It's a question that's puzzled readers of Genesis for centuries. The Bible doesn't tell us. And while this mystery has inspired countless interpretations, from theological musings to wild folklore, some apocryphal texts offer a darker, deeper explanation. Now, while the idea isn't considered canon by any major religion, it does offer a surprisingly neat answer. There's a lot left unsaid about Cain's life after his infamous banishment, the first man to spill blood, the first to be cursed to wander the earth. We know he feared the wide wilderness, terrified that someone might try to kill him. We know he eventually built a city, somewhere east of Eden. We know he found a wife and started a family. But the question that has echoed through the ages is this: if Adam, Eve, and Cain were the only ones mentioned as being alive, then who, exactly, was Cain so afraid of? Who did he build a city for? And more mysteriously, who was the woman he married? The Bible offers almost nothing about her, not even a name. And while some readers are content to accept this silence, others are drawn deeper. Because this isn't just any woman. She's the first wife in a fallen world. The first woman born outside the gates of Eden. The partner of the world's first murderer. And yet, her identity is shrouded in darkness. According to the biblical timeline, Cain's wife could have been one of Adam and Eve's own daughters, a sister, a niece, or even a great-niece. It sounds shocking to modern ears. But let's look at the timeline. Cain and Abel aren't described as teenagers or even young men when the fateful murder happens. In fact, Genesis doesn't tell us their ages at all. And considering they lived for centuries, Cain for over 700 years, it's entirely possible the murder happened hundreds of years after both brothers were born. In that time, Adam and Eve would have had many children. And those children would have had children. And so on. The earth could have been filled with generations of people, too numerous to list. So who was Cain afraid of? His own kin. The brothers, cousins, nieces, and nephews born long after Abel's death, who may have carried a generational resentment, fueled by whispers of the world's first crime. And that city Cain built in the land of Nod? It wasn't built for nothing. It may have been built for these others, wandering descendants, fellow outcasts, or those who had, over time, chosen to separate from Adam's lineage. Now, let's talk about the incest problem. Yes, by definition, Cain marrying his sister or niece would be considered incest. But let's zoom out. Adam and Eve were the only humans on Earth. If humanity was to continue, their children had to intermarry. Not out of sin, but out of necessity. And it's often believed that genetic flaws we associate with incest wouldn't have existed in these early generations. Why? Because Adam and Eve, created by God, were genetically perfect. According to this view, harmful mutations would only accumulate in later generations. But for the first children of humanity, intermarriage may have been perfectly safe and expected. But there's another theory, one that pulls us away from the lineage of Adam entirely. Some traditions, though not found directly in the Bible, suggest there may have been other humans. Humans that existed outside of Eden. Humans not descended from Adam. Where did they come from? Were they created after Adam or before? Were they acknowledged in Genesis or deliberately left out? Enter the land of Nod, the place Cain wanders to, the place the Bible barely mentions. And yet the mystery is undeniable. Perhaps Cain's wife was already living there, born to a people who never knew Eden, a stranger to Cain, unaware of who he truly was. After all, if Cain was in his 400s and she was in her 20s, their histories wouldn't just be different, they'd be entirely disconnected. She may have never even heard of Abel, the murder, a distant myth, the mark of Cain, just a strange birthmark. Cain, master of lies, might have told her nothing. Or maybe he told her everything. And maybe she didn't care. Maybe she was drawn to it, drawn to him, because she, too, lived outside the presence of the Lord. It's not hard to imagine Nod as a land of misfits, a place where people ran from God, where righteousness was replaced with rebellion, where someone like Cain didn't stand out, but fit right in. In that sense, it's almost poetic. Even someone cursed, even someone damned, finds someone who shares in his shadow. Interestingly, Islamic tradition, through various hadiths, offers a rare name for this mysterious woman. According to some accounts, Adam and Eve's children were born in pairs, a boy and a girl each time. Cain's twin sister was named Awan or Ima, depending on the source. Abel's twin was called Ashura. And here, the story takes a twist. Cain was meant to marry Abel's twin, but refused. He wanted to marry his own twin. This rejection sparked the jealousy that led to the first murder. It's a version that brings the story full circle. Love, jealousy, violence, exile, and eventually a wife. So who was Cain's wife? A sister? A stranger? A sinner? A shadow of himself? The Bible may be silent, but the whispers from tradition and imagination speak volumes. Now, while the idea isn't considered canon by any major religion, it does offer a surprisingly neat answer. In a lesser-known non-canonical tradition, it's said that Adam and Eve had more children than just Cain, Abel, and Seth. Each son was born with a twin sister, and it was customary, at least in these traditions, that they should marry across families. Cain was born with a twin sister named Awan or Ima in some accounts. Abel, too, was born with a twin. Her name was Orah. Adam, seeing the need for his sons to multiply and populate the earth, arranged the pairings. Cain was to marry Abel's twin, Orah. Abel would marry Cain's twin, Ima. But Cain objected. He refused to give up Ima, his own twin, claiming she was the only one he loved. This, of course, went against Adam's instruction. Adam, perhaps hoping to resolve the conflict peacefully, told his sons to present offerings to God, allowing the Creator himself to determine whose offering, and thus whose pairing, was more pleasing. But Cain's heart was already darkened. Cain brought fruits of the ground as his offering. Abel brought the firstborn of his flock. And God, according to the tradition, rejected Cain's offering, signaling not only divine disapproval of his sacrifice, but also of his desire to marry his own twin. It was a double rejection. Abel, whose offering was accepted, was granted Ima, the very woman Cain had claimed for himself. Overcome with rage, jealousy, and humiliation, Cain burned with hatred for both Abel and the God he felt had turned against him. And in the silence of the fields, he rose and struck down his brother, committing the world's first murder. This narrative finds further elaboration in a 6th century apocryphal work known as the Cave of Treasures, written in Syriac. Here, the story grows even darker, and the relationships more complex. In this account, Cain is born with a twin named Labuda, while Abel's twin is named Climith. Adam, still determined to prevent siblings from marrying their own twins, instructs Cain to marry Climith, and Abel to take Labuda. But once again, Cain protests. He desires Labuda, his own twin. Adam warns him. To marry your own twin, the one with whom you once shared the womb, is an abomination. Still, Cain insists, and again Adam allows God to judge. The sacrifices are made once more, and again Cain is rejected. But this version includes a sinister twist. Satan himself enters the scene. As Cain and Abel go to make their offerings, Satan appears and speaks to Cain, not aloud, but in the secret places of his heart. See how they love Abel more than they love you. He hisses. They give him your beautiful sister, and you, they give the lesser one. Satan stirs Cain's jealousy, feeds his pride, and fans the flame of resentment. When Abel's sacrifice is accepted, Cain, now possessed by rage and shadow, seizes a sharp stone of flint. and drives it into his brother's skull. The earth drinks the blood of the innocent, and the curse of God falls heavy upon Cain. You shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth. But even in exile, Cain does not go alone. In this grim version, Cain takes Labuda with him, his twin, his forbidden love, and now his companion in exile. Did she go willingly, out of love or loyalty, or was she taken by force? Her will broken under the shadow of Cain's fury? The texts don't say. They leave it to the reader's imagination. But Cain, even cursed and marked, even wandering in the land of Nod, still holds what he coveted most. Another vivid version of this story appears in a 6th century Christian text from Ethiopia, written in ancient Guizi and titled The Conflict Between Adam and Eve with Satan. In this tale, the names are once more changed. Cain's twin is called Lulua, and Abel's sister, though present, remains unnamed, perhaps to highlight just how much more beautiful Lulua was. Even Satan acknowledges this. Adam and Eve love your brother Abel more than they love you. They give him your beautiful sister Lulua, and give you his ill-favored sister because they hate you. The poison works. Cain's envy deepens, and with his heart consumed by the serpent's lies, he commits the dreadful act once more. Cain kills Abel, and again, he takes his twin sister Lulua into exile. The canonical Bible never names Cain's wife, and for many, that omission leaves a gap. But for those who dare to look deeper into these apocryphal traditions, a richer, more complex picture emerges. Cain's choice to fight for his twin sister, a woman who resembled him more than anyone else, reveals a disturbing mirror into his soul. In these narratives, Cain is not just jealous, he is narcissistic. He seeks a partner who is, in a way, an extension of himself. He rejects social structure, parental guidance, and even divine will, all in pursuit of self-satisfaction. He kills to get what he wants, and he pays the price. Whether seen as legend or psychological allegory, Cain's story becomes not just the tale of the first murder, but of humanity's first act of moral rebellion, and the first shadow to fall over Eden's fading light. What do you think of these apocryphal versions of Cain's tale? Do they reveal more about his character? Or are they just ancient myths meant to fill in the gaps? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed today's journey through forbidden texts and lost traditions, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more deep dives into the ancient, the occult, and the forgotten. Until next time, stay curious, stay questioning, and beware the whispers of the serpent.